Welcome back, my beautiful people, to STR News Digest, your go-to place for everything related to STR travel and the business of hospitality. I've had a crazy day. I have to use my laptop camera because I didn't have time to set up my other cameras. So I apologize for that. I got a lot of things going. If on my other channel, if you guys are not aware, last week we had our challenge, and then tonight at 8 p.m. we have our premiere. So I've been running around trying to do a bunch of stuff and driving me crazy. But what I want to do today is I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is my love-hate relationship with Airbnb, and something that you guys better be aware of. Because if you are in the business of hospitality, specifically in the short-term rental business, what's happening in this industry, specifically by Airbnb, will definitely affect you. So without further ado, let me go into a couple of things that I'm going to talk about. And I want to talk about three specific articles. And all three articles are related to Airbnb. And let me see if I can find the one quick second. Let me go through here. All three articles you can find. The first article I want to talk about is how Airbnb has taken the CEO of one of the CEOs, upper management people from Expedia. That's number one. They also invested and also stowed or poached, right, another executive from Booking.com, and all of it to spearhead their new strategy and acquisitions as it relates to hotels. I've been talking about this now for quite some time. And if you're not aware, Airbnb is making a big push into the hotel industry. They were hesitant in the beginning. I still remember the day I went to a short-term rental operator conference that was put on by Airbnb. And to this day, I remember them pushing back anytime somebody said that we were in the short-term rental business, or basically alternative stays. They pushed back heavily on that because they didn't want, they wanted to separate themselves from other OTAs like Booking.com, for example. But guess what? They're losing to Booking. So if you can't beat them, you got to join them. And they're definitely doing that. And they're doing it in the big time, right? And right now, what's happening is there is a all-out war, right? All-out war for direct bookings. And not only a short-term rental operators should be part of this war, but right now we're talking about hotels versus OTAs, direct bookings versus third-party platforms. AI is entering this battlefield, and I've been talking about this for a while. If you're not part of AI or not using AI in your business, you better hop on board because you're going to definitely be left behind. And there's a couple of articles that I read on Skiff. If you're not familiar with Skiff, it's a article it's a newsletter. I guess you call it a newsletter. It's a platform that's strictly about travel and the hospitality industry. And what's most important here is on these articles that I'm going to be referencing to is the importance as it relates to hospitality in 2026. And again, I'm preaching to the choir for those that have subscribed to my channel and watch me religiously. But if you have not watched me before, I'm going to go ahead and continue to preach and say the following. You need to take complete control of your business. And if you are a short-term rental operator, one of the best ways that will keep you from going bankrupt, keep you from closing your doors, is by taking control of the most important component, and that is the customer and customer acquisition. And I'm going to say we because I was part of this until I woke up several years ago. We became very dependent on Airbnb because it was easy, right? Anything we put on Airbnb was going to sell out, right? It was going to produce, it was going to make money. All we had to do was put it on that platform. But those days, my friends, are long gone because that's not the case anymore. And in fact, right now, Airbnb is actually purging. They're actually getting rid of. They're actually eliminating, and they're actually trying to how do I phrase this? They want to, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, and I'm going to give you some evidence as to why I think so. In my opinion, they don't want to be in the residential short-term rental business anymore. That's why they're making it almost impossible to stay on their platform long-term. If you have a luxury property, a high-end property that checks their boxes, and even then, I'm telling you, you're going to have issues. Then you have a fighting chance, because here's what's happening if you're not aware. And some of you may probably already been affected. I know we were affected early on last year. We have taken some preventive measures to try to correct that. But here's what's happening. Airbnb is literally banning properties that fall below their 4.4 rating. And it's so easy to do that, people. If you're in this game long enough, you're going to make someone that stays on your property unhappy. And it may not even be your fault, right? I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. We had a property that, well, let me backtrack. We're in Florida. There's a couple things in Florida that are unique to Florida. Hurricanes being one of them. Mosquitoes, iguanas, lizards. That's part of our ecosystem. If you come to South Florida or just about anywhere in Florida, expect it to be super hot in the summer. Expect to have issues with weather because we have a lot of severe weather. Expect to have a lot of mosquitoes and expect to deal with iguanas and lizards. So here's my story. We had a property that's on the lake. It's a beautiful property on a big lake. So lake, South Florida, there's a lot of wildlife. And we had a family come from New York. Won't mention their name, but came from New York. And holy smokes, did they complain about how hot it was. They complained about the mosquitoes. And they complained a lot about a stupid lizard that got into the house. We literally had to send a maintenance out there to capture this lizard and get it out of the house. This person gave us a 1-star review because of that, right? We fought with Airbnb to get rid of that because it actually does violate Airbnb's policy. But I don't know if you dealt with Airbnb recently, man, but it gets worse as time goes on. I mean, literally worse. They're literally check the box people. They might as well have robots because all they do is read a script and check the box. They don't, there's no common sense. Anyway, long story short, because of that property, we received, because of that 1-star rating, not solely on that one, because a couple of months passed and then we had somebody give us a 4-star out of 5. And when we asked why they gave us 4 stars, they replied, we never give a 5 because we don't think any property is perfect. Okay, I can somewhat understand that. But, and I'm not saying we're perfect because we're not. And there is not a single property that's going to be perfect. It's a residential home. any hotel you go to is going to have, even the Ritz, even the high-end hotels will have something that you don't like. But long story short, it brought us down to a 4.6, I believe, rating because of that one, and then that 4-star. That 4-star hurts us just as bad as that one rating. So long story short, Airbnb sent us an email saying that if we don't raise it within the next 30 days, that we're going to get suspended. And if it doesn't get raised, if it goes below 4.4, we will be banned on the platform. That was one instant. Another instant that we had that was very unfortunate, and I talked about this before, but I'm going to reiterate for those that are new and watching. We bought a property in Hollywood. Unbeknownst to us, this property was an Airbnb that was banned. Airbnb banned it because it fell below their 4.4 rating. Well, we didn't know that. We bought the property. We renovated it. I mean, we spent a lot of money. We upgraded. It was not the same property that we bought. We put it on Airbnb. And 2 months later, we get an email saying the property will be taken off the platform because it had previously been banned. Well, I thought, okay, they must think that I'm still the same owner. We sent them an email showing when we purchased it, how different the property is from when we got it, all the improvements on it, and the fact that we were already on the platform for more than 30 days and had a 5-star rating. They didn't care. They took us off the platform. Anyways, I'm saying all this because I'm warning you that if you're relying on the OTAs for your business, you are going to be in trouble, and big trouble, my friends. Don't do that. So going back to the Airbnb strategy. So we're going to start going through these articles. Let me bring these up. So the first one that I mentioned is Airbnb has named Booking.com veteran in the hotel industry as part of their leadership shakeup. So what they did, I kind of already talked about it. They went ahead and they announced that Andrea Michael, I think that's her name, the current CEO of WeRoad. If you don't know, that's one of the platforms from hotel platforms on Expedia. I'm Booking, I'm sorry, who has spent 18 years working on hotels at Booking.com, will now become the new VP of hotels for Airbnb. Okay, that's one story that caught my attention, right? Next story, let me bring that story up. I'm trying to find it now. Give me one quick second. Next story, again from Shift, is Airbnb is getting into the boutique hotel market. Won't read the story, but I'm just letting you know this is the second story on Airbnb. Reference hotels, right? Then the next and final story is a combination, and I'm going to tie it with Marriott, because Marriott just signed a resort pass deal. And here's what this article pretty much entails, right? It's why hotels are pushing to sell more than just rooms. So in the article, Marriott signed a huge deal to create what's called a resort pass that will give members benefits to use. Even if you don't stay on the property, you can book this pass and then use the facility throughout the day. You just won't be staying the night. So in a nutshell, what Airbnb is doing, what Booking has done, right? Because everybody's copying Expedia and Booking. They want to be a one-stop shop. But here's what it all boils down to. Number one is the customer. When you have a one-stop shop, you control that customer experience. That's hugely important for a business. This is why I tell you guys, when the most important part is having or most important part, and probably the most expensive part, is going to be customer acquisition. But once you have that customer, hold on to it, baby it, cater it. Try to maximize your earnings from that customer by providing excellent customer service to that customer. And the way you do that is by controlling all aspects. So, for example, if you're not familiar, Airbnb created experiences, they created services. Now they just did a promotion so that if you book a house, a room, or a hotel now on Airbnb, you can also at the same time book your transportation, your airport pickup and drop off. You can book, again, services, personal trainer or chef, all that on the actual platform. You can book your experience, movie tickets, excursions, tours, all that on the platform. Why do they want to do that? Because they want to control everything so that they can provide you, the guest, and the customer a better guest experience. When you don't do that, you can't control what another agency is doing. So, and at the end of the day, there's not enough, or the travel industry is really, it's really consolidating, right? There's not enough dollars to go around. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. Stuff that's happening in the Middle East is affecting air travel. I mean, one of the reasons why I think Spirit went under was because of the conflict in the Middle East, making it even more expensive for them to operate their flights. It's one of the many reasons, not the primary reason, but it was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? So that's one of the reasons Spirit went under. JetBlue is on the verge of bankruptcy if they're not already bankrupt. Travel, although the demand for travel is still fairly high, man, but people are just more budget conscious. They're being more selective what they do with their dollars. It truly is becoming a big issue in the travel industry. So because of that, every company, and that's why I said they're at war, to try to outdo the next. Again, right now, Expedia, I think, has the upper hand over all the OTAs because they have hotels, verbals, excursion, all on one platform. You go on Expedia.com, you can book your flight, you can do everything on Expedia. And they own the majority of the shares. Again, Marriott, as a hotel, primarily a hotel business, is now trying to expand, right? They're doing Resort Pass. They're trying to sell more than just rooms now because they realize they need to really figure out how to stay afloat because it's becoming more expensive and they can't keep raising hotel prices. So they have to figure out how to make money elsewhere. I talked about this a lot when I started my business, right? I started just as a real estate asset management company. That's all I did in the beginning. Then I quickly realized I need to bring everything in-house. I brought in the marketing team in-house. I brought in the cleaning team in-house. I brought in maintenance in-house. Everything needed to come in. Why? Because I needed, number one, to monetize those services, but have better control so I can provide my customers a better service. I'm going to give you an example of that. And this is funny, right? We recently lost recently lost a client. Client wasn't happy that we're changing a lot of things. Whenever you change something, people are not comfortable with change, but change is necessary from a business standpoint. If you want to continue to grow, you have to innovate and you have to continue to change and grow, or you're going to die, right? But this particular client wasn't too keen on that and decided to give us our termination, saying that this was going to be the last 30 days. They hired a new management company. Here's the funny part. They hired a new management company. That management company ended up calling us for maintenance help. When we went to the house, we realized, shoot, this is our old client. People don't really understand that in in my world, in the management world, there's very few companies that provide all the services that we provide, and very few control it. They subcontract everything out, which I found interesting and ironic that this client hired another property management company only for that management company to hire us to handle their maintenance. It was interesting. Anyway, um, let me see if there's anything else. I really just wanted to hammer home the fact that if you are a short-term rental operator today, you have to figure out how to. I mean, it's a reality check, right? OTAs still maintain a massive share of hotels, right? But in the short-term rental industry, it was Airbnb, and Airbnb is losing ground big time. Hence why they're trying to adapt. But they're doing it on, again, they're doing it on purpose, right? They realize that with, I'm going to give you an example. In Spain, the regulation in Spain virtually killed the short-term rental industry in Spain. So Airbnb lost, and if you remember that episode, 250,000 short-term rentals were eliminated in Spain in 1 month. And Airbnb is realizing that that is a reality in many places. New York City, for example, super restrictive on short-term rentals. Even though there isn't a flat-out ban in a lot of places, but it's become so restrictive. So Airbnb is realizing they can't just rely on their standard product. They have to include hotels. They just have to. This is one of the reasons why we realized early on we have to build resorts, right? We have to move more towards the hotel side, or the hotel side of the hospitality industry versus short-term rentals. This is why I am not heavily investing in residential short-term rentals anymore. I'm investing heavily in multi-units that I could convert into short-term rentals because I can get a hotel motel license for those that I can't do on a single residential home. Anyway, my beautiful people, that's going to be it for today. Let me see if we have any questions because I've been rambling, going on and on. Let me see. I don't see any. Okay, one guy says, I depend completely on Airbnb. What advice would you give me so I don't? Number one, start now if you don't have your own website. Start doing direct, website where people can go to your website and book directly with you. That's number one. Number two, get on every OTA platform available. Go to Booking, go to Verbal, go to Wednesday. There's so many. As many as you can that your property qualifies for, hop on that bandwagon, right? So you're not relying on just one. Okay, so that was that question. How should we respond to and handle these extreme reviews? Okay, so handling reviews on Airbnb has become extremely difficult to deal with, but we have a policy. The moment we get a review, our AI evaluates that review, and if it's a positive review, AI will respond to that review, positively. If it's a negative review, that review gets passed on to a staff member who will review it. We'll see if it violates Airbnb's policy. If it does, we're going to attempt to get that policy removed, right? There's a process. You have to go on there. You have to write what we felt was violated Airbnb's review policy, and then submit that. And then oftentimes you're going to get a response from Airbnb saying they're not taking it down. So then you have to escalate that. And we sometimes escalate it 2 or 3 times until we get the results we want. But lately, as I mentioned, it's become very difficult. We've tried multiple times, and there's one where we thought we were going to win because it was a clear violation. The lady talked about it was about the weather. It was about the weather, and it was about something unrelated to the property, which is not part of, it's against Airbnb's policy. But the we kept getting back, they kept replying to us saying that it doesn't violate Airbnb's policy because it's part of the experience. Again, they shifted because they added a clause to the review policy that states that they can write about their experience. They just can't write. They can't put stuff that's not relevant to the property. So for example, they can't. They can go on there and say, the house is in a high crime area, right? They can't do that because that's not part of Airbnb's policy because it's not related to the actual house. But they can write, if they write it correctly, they can write and say they didn't feel safe because the house was in a high crime area, right? Just an example. If they write it that way, chances are you're not getting rid of it because they're basing it based on their experience. So it's just becomes very difficult. It's just the pain in the ass to deal with Airbnb, which why I hate them. And it's I don't recommend anybody to be on Airbnb. So even though we are, because it's a necessary evil, but I'm heavily reliant on marketing and direct bookings, our marketing strategies, and through other OTAs. In fact, Booking.com and Verbal have surpassed them, right? Or picked up some of the market shares. All right. Okay, I don't think I see anything else. All right, my beautiful people, thank you for watching. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.